Hello all, welcome back to another episode of the Soapbox. And you'll notice this month is extra special because we are sitting in the beautiful new official space of Indepth PHYSIO within the gorgeous new location of Embody Pilates in CANMORE, Alberta. And I was holding off to do this post because I really wanted to do my first one in the clinic this month. So today we are talking a little bit of INSPO as it's the first post of the month here. And I just wanted to chat a little bit about our goal setting in January, check in, see how you guys are doing. Have you fallen off the wagon yet? Usually third week of January, people start dropping off those New Year's resolutions. So I wanted to check in, and I know I've been struggling because one of my goals was to work out twice a week. And I admit, like, there was a week I just couldn't swing it, couldn't do the twice a week. But that's okay. And I didn't fall off completely. I said, all right, like, I'm gonna give myself permission to fall off the wagon every once in a while, and that's okay. And so if you guys have found too that you've kind of been struggling, you're really gung-ho at the beginning of January with those New Year's resolutions, but just maybe got behind or caught up with life, that happens. We are all human. So I just wanted to admit, like, I'm struggling too. It's second week of February, and it's just everything's ramping up. This is like dance competition go time, pretty much as of March 1st. And so things are starting to pick up speed. And with the new clinic, just this pretty much all came together the last week. It's been a bit of a whirlwind. So yeah, I just wanted to check in and encourage you guys to just keep going. Or as like Dory and Nemo would say, like, just keep swimming. You just gotta keep going. And if you wrote them down, like I said, like I try to do just to hold yourself accountable, go back to that page, get re-inspired, pick up maybe your latest Brene Brown book. That usually helps me out as well. I'm reading one of hers right now called Rising Strong, because I finished her other one called Daring Greatly. So that's always my trick. If I'm just feeling really burnt out and uninspired, I try to pick up a book on some INSPO, maybe watch the little Soapbox episode, and just try to get back on the wagon again. So if you missed a couple weeks, see what do you need to do to kind of get back on track with your goals. It's never too late to goal set. So maybe you missed goal setting. Maybe you didn't even make any goals in January. And the reason I'm bringing up goals is because this month has been huge for me. I am sitting here in a space that I literally would dream about. And when I started Pilates school 2 years ago, Bonnie Lynn had asked us all, like, get out a piece of paper. I want you all to write down your biggest dream. Just write it down, no matter how ridiculous or extravagant it might seem. I want you to write it down on paper, because that's the first step, is can you articulate what exactly do you want? And that's super hard for some people, and it takes a few revisions. So I had this in my head for a few years, but that was the first time I'd actually like written it down. And I literally said, I am dreaming of a physio clinic, a little treatment space within a Pilates studio. With like a glass door, and I do have like my glass door, so I can be treating someone, look out and literally see like just people moving. And I want my clients to see that. And I wanted the highlight of the space not to be the treating of, but the moving of people. Because that ultimately is what gets people better, is learning how to move again and not being afraid of movement. So it's pretty surreal for me right now to be sitting here in a space that literally has come to fruition. This was the drawings on paper. This was what all the journaling was about. And it's here in the flesh. And it's almost doesn't seem real, like it's a dream. And this all started with writing down a goal. And I thought, this is insane, because I also said I wanted it in the mountains. which comes with a price tag, but it happened, and it didn't happen overnight, but it's just funny how all your decisions, everything you do in life, if you have those goals written down, will start to align, and you have to be strict with yourself. Say, is this going to get me closer to my goal? If yes, you may pass go, collect $200, but you'll come across a lot of other opportunities that are very tempting, like so many things that seemed to happen last April. All these opportunities were popping up, and I was being pulled in all these different directions, and I had to say to myself, okay, look, what is your ultimate goal? Go back to that piece of paper. Is this gonna get you closer to that dream space in the mountains? And if the answer is no, then it's not the door for you. And that's the second thing. Like, the hardest thing is being articulate about a goal. Second thing is, how do you follow through with it? How do you go from piece of paper, like A, to point B, which is actually starting to make it come to fruition? And if I didn't keep reevaluating, keep going back and reminding myself of how to get from point A to point B, and the end goal, I would have got lost along the way. And it happens, and that's okay too, but ultimately, my best advice is keep going back to that piece of paper. Keep reading your goals, no matter if they're as big as this or as small as, like, I just want to work out twice a week. They don't all have to be grandiose. But keep rereading that piece of paper, keep trying to get inspired, lean on people for support, share what your goals are, because it's really easy to get off track and just feel unmotivated and then just want to give up. So think of Dory, just keep swimming, and write it down. Go back to that piece of paper. I literally keep like my goal list handy, so I can always revert back to it if I'm feeling a little uninspired. But now what? And that's the fun, is I'm like, this is the end goal. And now it's happening. So the work, the next chapter is only just beginning. And it is terrifying. And that's probably the next hardest thing, is the fear. The fear. And Brené Brown would say, choose courage over comfort. She had a really good way of putting it. She said, you need to face discomfort head on. And to me, if I'm ever nervous about doing something, I have to have another reason, because to me, fear is not a good enough reason to not pursue something. I've really tried to make that almost like a motto for myself when I'm feeling apprehensive about something, but I know it would be a great opportunity. I know it's going to get me closer to point B. I have to ask myself, okay, am I just afraid, or is there something else holding me back? Because if it's just fear is not a good enough reason. It's not a good enough reason to not try something new or not go ahead with that goal. It's just not good enough. So either come up with a different excuse, or again, in the words of Brené, face that fear head on, face the discomfort, get uncomfortable, because that's where the magic happens. That is where you're gonna grow. And I think one of the worst things we can do with our jobs or things in life is get complacent with things. If we get too comfortable, I find we stop growing, we stop learning. So I just find, like, if fear is the only thing holding you back, it's just not good enough. So I say go for it. And you still have to be smart about it. Plan out your steps. Can't just like jump into something. Lord knows I couldn't just jump into this. But it took little baby consistent steps to also make it bearable, make it like chewable, like I can handle this. And that's kind of the next thing, is just, okay, take it bit by bit. What do I need to do next to get closer to B? How can I go from A to B? And then the last thing I wanted to bring up, so fear is not good enough, okay, is what legacy do you want to leave behind? when you pass, because we're only on this earth for so long, and each of our times can be shorter or longer than others, you never know when that time's gonna come, how do you want to be remembered? What is the legacy you want to leave behind? And that is one of my motivators for facing my fear head on, is I don't want to just be on my deathbed, last words, looking back, reflecting on my life and thinking, what if I went for that drawing on that piece of paper? What if I had been in the mountains sooner and just went for it instead of waiting or just sitting in safety? So my big thing with the company is I want to change the standard of physio. I want it to be more proactive, less reactive. I want to be seen as a movement coach. I want people to hear physio and be like, wow, what are you doing preventatively? Like, instead of associating it with, oh, what's wrong with you? Like, what happened? What injury do you have? I want to be a pioneer in leading the world to a more active approach to treatment. And this is the vehicle of how to get there. Is got my Pilates teacher training. I am creating a clinic that is not at the forefront. You walk in those front doors, you see people moving. It's a Pilates studio first and a treatment space second. And I hope more of this will catch on. And so that is my legacy, is I want to make movement be the main modality and physios be seen as movement coaches, not as a reactive measure. So here's to writing down those goals. Just keep swimming. Fear is not a good enough reason to not pursue something, and leave a legacy. So I hope that in this space that's come to fruition, I hope that gave you a little bit of boost for maybe the February slump that I find some people can get into. So go back to your goals. It's never too late to set them, and you never know when they're gonna come to real life, and you get to start setting new goals. It is really incredible for me to be sitting here in front of you and saying this in the space that I've only dreamed of, and I can only wish that you guys will be able to do the same sometime soon, or one day, or on your path to leaving that legacy and making your dream a reality. So face discomfort head on. We're into February, make 2019. Go out with a bang here, and wishing you all the inspiration in the world. And like I said, if you're in a slump, you can always pick up a little Brene Brown love at your local bookstore. So that's the soapbox for today. And here's to heading into March, right on track, right on our goals. Thanks, guys.